Welcome in, everybody. 5 minutes with Shawn, maybe 10. We are ending July with a boom. I'm telling you what, people, we're bringing you a mental health Monday. Things are about to get pretty real in here. So hopefully you're ready for that on a Monday to close out your month, because we are joined today by none other than Mr. Shawn Butler. Shawn, how are you today?
I'm doing as well as could be expected at this point. Shawn, how are you, man?
I'm wonderful, bud. I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for making the time to visit with me today and share your story with folks. So, obviously you've been through a lot. You have a lot going on, Shawn. So why don't you share with folks, the current state of things and kind of talk us through what you're dealing with?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. And I know we put this together kind of last minute, but mental health's a big thing with me. Knowing that my wife was a 30-year mental health nurse. So it's always on my forefront. But more importantly, what came to light over the last, I'd say 6-7 weeks, on June 19th, I had just a terrible, terrible pain. It had been going on all weekend. So my wife finally convinced me to go to the ER. So when I did, they ran a CT scan and they ran this. So blood work came back great. Okay, good news. CT scan, not so great. CT scan showed that all of my lymph glands in my lower intestinal area were like the size of grapes, right? And these are the ones that are made into all your linings. So that's not a good sign. And then they spotted what looked to be like a tumor. So basically, after consulting with an oncologist and the radiologist, they came back and they said, well, we're 99.9% sure you got cancer. And now you get to go see all these specialists. And, this was just the ER. So they sent me, I was in dying of pain. So they sent me home with like 3 days worth of pain medication, and then no fun. Everything was late August, September to get, to even get to see anybody. I needed to do an MRI. I needed to do a PET scan. I needed to see an oncologist. I needed to see a gastroenterologist. I had all of these things that quicker the better, because this all came up. Let me back up a little bit. So at the first of the year, I cut out fast food. I said, hey, I want to go from 200 pounds. I'm 5'8", right? So I want to go from 200 pounds down to like 180 something. And so that went well. I lost like 15, 16 pounds over January, February. But then in March, I started having these intestinal pains, and I actually started losing weight without trying, like 2-3 pounds a week. And then it got really, really bad. So culminating into early June, in and out of doctors, a couple emergency room visits, nothing came of it, to where we got to June when we actually found something. So, fast forward, thankfully, shout out to the health field of going, hey, this is pretty bad. Something's going on here. And I got put on every call when there's a cancellation list possible. Right. Yeah. So if this person canceled for that, call Shawn. And so a lot of running and gunning at the drop of a hat to go make these appointments. And then, so we did when I went to the gastroenterologist and had a colonoscopy, they found a 4-inch long tumor inside of me, and as well as all those inflamed lymph nodes that we spoke about. So then the oncologist gets that, and we look at it, and we go to do not the MRI, but
the PET scan.
Yeah, the PET scan. That's right. And so that was a positive note. Nothing in my organs, all contained to the midsection. From the top of your thighs to the small of your back, if you will. That's where the pain was radiating at, and that's where the cancer seems to be. So go to the pathology report. They just came in, and the pathology report is not pretty. Everything is like ultra aggressive. This tumor probably grew to be this size just within a few months. So that necessitates a very aggressive treatment program. And, I'm new to all this. I don't know anything about this. But one thing that I did notice is that if you don't have a support network like I got, right? Like I got people like you, I got people like my wife, I got people in my family, I got business associates, I have my employer, my coworkers. I mean, everybody ultra supportive. I got to thinking, what would it be like for somebody who did not have that support network or have those people pulling for you that took it seriously and got on the side? And so the prognosis is not good. I mean, the kind of cancer that I have and the aggressive nature of it, the first year survival rates are less than 40%. 33 to 42% is what I was told. So, but as far as I'm concerned, they're 100% because me and you are talking today. So,
Yeah, I mean, so take me back a second, man. Let's just dive into this. You're dealing with pain. You're going to a hospital. You end up finding out this is the case, right? What's the first thing that enters into your mind, Shawn? Like, very first thing, you have cancer. What happens to Shawn Butler's mentality?
I actually go into an aggressive mode. I want to know how fast can we get started and what's the maximum thing we can do to try to take care of this. You know, is the treatment will either kill me or cure me, one or the other, right? So I went into aggressive mode. How fast can we move forward?
Yeah, that does not surprise me. Given what I know about you and how you attack things and how you work through things, that would be a big part of it. Now, it's not just you, as you pointed out, in this battle, in this journey. You have your wife, who you two are the best of friends. You have been for a long time. You and I were
That's
just
right.
talking about how you surprised her with her new vehicle of her dreams and how all these things go. What 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 happens to your wife? What happens to that, her reaction? And then how do you help with that, right? Because ultimately she's probably in a tough spot, and you're kind of having to corral all of that. What was that part like for the two of you?
Well, as a blessing, my wife is a 30-year nurse, right? She just recently had to medically retire due to a third back surgery earlier this year. So that may have been the good Lord looking out for us, that she's available to help me and to navigate all these fields and do these appointments and the insurances and all of these things. But back to your question, she took it pretty hard because she's seen a lot over the years. She's seen a lot of mental illness involves drugs and disease and those types of things. So she's seen a lot of cancer over the years, and she's a cancer survivor. She had uterine cancer. She's 8 years free now. Since about 11 years ago, she was diagnosed. So knowing what she went through and then having to watch me go through it, very, very hard on her. Plus, it's the fear of the unknown, right? Because this is a new area for us. Colorectal cancer, there's not a lot out there on it, and everything you Google is bad, right? Or if you look anything up.
That was going to be my next question to you, is how quickly did you go looking for your own resources versus what you were hearing? Like, how much education did you pour yourself over once given this diagnosis?
Honestly, I didn't. I don't care about none of that. All I want to do is meet with the oncologist and follow the treatment plan. I don't care what anybody else has got to say about it. I don't care about. Well, I shouldn't say I don't care. I'm not concerned with what other people's experiences have been, right? I only am concerned with my personal experience right now, because sometimes you got to be selfish and you got to say, hey, you know what? This is about me at this moment, and what is going to be best for my family. We have a 6-year-old. We take care of our in-laws. We have 88 and 84-year-old parents that live with us. I mean, there's a lot going on there. And so for my wife to watch her have a little bit of a breakdown, that's really heart-wrenching for me, because she's very intelligent, very strong, very successful in her career. She's got all these things going on. So to watch her get very, very nervous and upset as the oncologist is talking, it was quite disturbing for me. I'm a dummy. I'm a medical dummy. I don't know.
Right.
She knows.
Right. And her knowing that is proven to be a huge asset for you along the way, having someone with that sort of history and that sort of understanding of the field. I dealt with this, not with cancer, but a year ago, dealt with some things in my own household, and having to deal with the medical field and wanting to be an advocate, right? Shawn, I mean, now you're your biggest advocate. right? You're knocking down doors, you're pushing in. I was doing the same thing for my wife. I was like, look, man, you got a cancellation? I'll be there in 20 minutes. Like, I don't even care. I will find a way to do whatever it is you need to do, because it is amazing how long these windows are, right? For time and effort. And it seems to be getting further and further and further, right? And I don't know if that's because there are less people who are specialized or more people being sick, but either way, it's become more difficult. So Shawn, when you hear cancer, you hear treatment plans, what now? Like, what is your outlook? What is your mindset when you wake up pretty much every day since, now that you have more of a plan?
Well, so my mindset every day since is, it's been getting to this first part. What we've done in like the last 6 or 7 weeks, I start my chemotherapy next week on August 2nd. That is, I'm getting a port and a pump installed on Monday. And so come to find out, after meeting with the doctor and the nurse, I'm actually getting 2 chemotherapies at once. They're starting off with the more quote unquote traditional one, where you sit there with the IV and it's the drip for like 2 hours. And, you see that on TV, you see pictures of that. But then I actually get this really highly volatile cocktail hooked up to my port when I'm done with that one. That's a 48-hour straight trickle drip right into my aortic valve, right? It's almost as direct as it can be, trying to attack the problem. So all that got done in 6 weeks. It's normally a 90 to 120 day process to get to where we're at, because I got an oncologist that recognized the severity of the situation and pulled everything he could pull to get me to where we're at today. I thought we would start with radiation. Is it a surgery? All these thoughts run through your head. He said, no, we're going with this fairly new cocktail that's very aggressive, and it stands the best chance to shrink your tumor the fastest. So that's how we ended up with basically going in reverse order, which you hear a lot of at treatments. We're actually doing 4 months of chemo, 2 months of radiation and chemo, and then potentially a surgery after that.
And so, Shawn, with that being, the outline here for the next, month and a half, 2 months, what does this do to how does this affect your career, Shawn? You've been doing what you've been doing a long time. You work with great folks. Talk to me about the job side of things, what it's like for you, what discussions you may have had with your employees, employer, and then kind of what does the future of the position look like and the flexibility needed for you to be able to accomplish all this?
Well, so I'm very, very fortunate to be surrounded with good people, right? Because in our business, it's about the people. Yeah, if you know me at all, I put all the employees first. Everybody else is first. So that's making deposits. So now I've had to make a little bit of a withdrawal, right? And I need some support from them. And they've all stepped up to the person. My employer has been great. They're like, Shawn, you do what you need to do. It's I have a laptop. I can work from home. I can be on the phone. I can text message, make it to the office when I can. Right now, the plan is that I'll work about every other week. I'll be off for 3 days for the chemo treatment. But so I'll basically work 10, 11 days straight and then be off for 3 days, which is, fairly, it's very nice of my employer to be able to work with me like that. And then also I have a lot of experienced people here, and I've been fast tracking some education and some delegation over these past couple of weeks since I found out. And I've basically got a delineation of job duties. Like I've got one person that's going to handle any customer issues, another person handling potential vehicle issues, cars purchased less than 30 days. I've got 2 people by committee handling any personnel issues. Now, granted, this is all a backup to the backup, because 90% of the time I'm going to be available by phone or email or whatever. But you always want to have things in place. You don't want to take things down that you spent, the last 18 months building up.
Yeah, I agree. And you touched on something I think is really important to talk about inside of this discussion, which is you being there. You are people first, okay? When I first met you, that is the first thing that came off the screen to me. And now I see it in the monthly barbecues and the employee highlight stuff that you do. It's always about people for you. But you said something that I hope people listen to, which is that you've been making deposits into these individual relationships. as banks, right? And you've been saying, yeah, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. And just like me, right? We'll put ourselves out there for everyone and we'll give 90%, but there will be a time where we may need the 10 back, you know? And I'm so glad to hear that you have people giving back to you. You know, it means the world to me to hear about a dealership that's this supportive. So thank you so much to your ownership team and the people that you work for giving you this opportunity and being able to support you through it. I know the boys and girls at SDL are way behind you on everything that goes on there as well. We also have Ted Ings and what he's doing with the fixedopscares.org. So anyone who hasn't checked that out yet, please do it. You can go there, you can donate and help Shawn and his family with everything ahead of them, which you'd assume because we all are Americans and we have health insurance, somehow Shawn wouldn't have to worry about any of that. But he does, and he has to worry about it, you know, in spades. So we have to really, really, really look out for one another. Shawn, what has it been like for someone? Because I know you're a little bit like me, where you'd rather be it about other people, right, than yourself. What's it been like for you personally to have so much outreach, so much support? What has that done to you? What has that meant to you?
Oh, it's a confidence and a mental health booster, right? To know that many people reach out, but it's also uncomfortable. Because I'm used to putting the spotlight on everybody else and not having a spotlight on me. You know, it's nice to get compliments from here and there, win awards or whatever, but to this level of how it's been ramped up, you know, what's interesting to me is the number of people that have reached out, whether it's been mentally, emotionally, financial support, because I'm a dummy at this, right? So we have these big insurance plans where you have this high out-of-pocket deductible and all of these things. Well, I hit all that before I even found out what kind of cancer I had. Yeah. And then, and so then, and it'll all reset at the beginning of the year, you know.
Which is crazy, right? It's not like this is just covered because you're dealing with it now, right? Mm-hmm. So like anything expense-wise driven to it. No, it's in a 12-month, you know, window, which is a little frustrating.
I'm not independently wealthy, right? You know what I mean? So therefore, I mean, it's going to take more. I'm either going to be paying stuff back for a very, very long time, or as people are doing, they're going to step up and help like we've done over the years. My wife and I reflected on that. My wife was like, she goes, how much money, Shawn, do you think that we've given over the years to different GoFundMes, to different charities and stuff like that? And I said, well, honey, I can tell you, we can pull out our tax returns and all of this stuff, you know, and we've probably given 30, 40 grand away ourselves over the past, you know, 10 years, not a major amount, but steady every year. And so it's nice to see some of that come back around when I need some help.
It's always interesting, Shawn, right? Because I always wonder if it's gonna, right? Because like you say, I make deposits in banks of people that I'm in relationships with every day. And you wonder if and when the rubber meets the road, will those same people do what I have done for others? And is it fair of me to expect other people to, you know, hold themselves as accountable as I hold myself? And I think that's been a difficulty. Has there been anything for you that stood out as something you weren't expecting, like from anyone from somewhere?
Mm-hmm. Yes, there's been some fairly hefty contributions from some people that I've actually never met or even talked to in person, interacted with, maybe through LinkedIn or online or something like that. But then even more telling, that absence of interaction with people that you thought you were pretty tight with and people that you've had relationships for a long time, all of a sudden it's crickets chirping, which that really caught me off guard, to be honest with you. You know, I have probably, Facebook, 1,000 people, LinkedIn, 1,500 people. Look at my GoFundMe, 250 something contributions. That's a lot. That's a lot of contributions. But out of 2,500 people you interact with, you know, on social media, it's not a lot. So that kind of did catch me off guard.
Yeah, that's interesting, dude, because, you know, we try not to do that, right? As people, we're grateful for what we get, and that's what we're after. But you can't help but notice when there's that name that you would have expected to reach out or to be a part of it or whatever it is. And I get it, man. Not everybody can afford to make donations and be a part of things. Like, totally understand it. But That doesn't mean you can't text, doesn't mean you can't email, doesn't mean you can't drop a line. There are ways to reach one another to do that and to let people know you're
No,
there and you're thinking of them and you're supporting of them. So Shawn, you have this battle ahead of you. You know what the score is, you know what's going to be required. What advice, now that you're 6 weeks into this, would you have for someone walking into this situation? And I ask that kind of selfishly because 24 hours ago, I learned that someone very, very, very close to me is now going to be dealing with a very similar battle. And it's something that, has kind of fucked with me. I'm not going to lie to you. It's something that, it's possibility of hereditary. There's all these things that none of us know. And it's all so early and we're all trying to learn. But what advice would you have for someone like me or someone in your position that's learning about themselves and this terrible disease and how to move forward?
The biggest thing you can do, that I did, right? I'm not normal. That you can't go and say, like you asked me earlier, I didn't immerse myself in a bunch of education other than what steps to expect.
Yeah.
I would think for somebody in a family situation or a friend situation, letting that person know or the people around them know that you're there, that you're supportive of them, and that you're thinking of them is a huge place to start. Because trust me, the direction where you can help will pop up, right? It'll pop up and say, hey, okay, they could use some help over here, or they could use help here. Like myself, Joe Chambers, SDO, they reached out. They're like, hey, what can we do to help? And I'm really reluctant to take any help, right, at all. One of my wife's best friends insisted on doing the GoFundMe, and they even put it saying to benefit my wife's name, right, because I wasn't down with it, right? So they did it on their own, kind of on at the pool side. And then Ted Ings, as soon as Ted called to check on me, Ted picked up the ball. He's like, Shawn, I normally do some type of some donations and some cancer things on the round table in September's. Would you be willing to share your story, to talk about it, and let me help you with the next roundtable and the corporate sponsors that he has and the other, just the network he has that he reaches out there. And same thing with SDL, right? Yeah, they're reaching out. Between the resource that I have just on those two groups alone, you're talking several thousand people that, if nothing else, can say, hey, we're here for you, buddy. We're thinking about you, right? We want you to win, right? Winning is important, as our friend Michael Barrett likes to say. And as long as I'm right here in front of you and I got a voice, I will use my voice for the good of others. I want to bring awareness, right? Because people aren't aware of it. People aren't following doctors' orders to get checkups every 5 years or yearly. I'm guilty. Hell, I've 54 years, never been to a doctor hardly. Until now, I'm getting them all in at once, catching up.
Yeah.
Awareness and take the support. Take the support people offer you. How many people sit alone and just suck all this in and then dwell on it? They don't have any outlet. They don't have anywhere to go. There's groups out there. There's Facebook groups. There's counseling at your local hospitals. There's all these support networks I had no clue about until the last few weeks.
I mean, that's what I'm talking about, right? Is that like you're seeing that there are different places to go to get that support, to be there, even if you're not down for it, right? Even if you're like, just no, I don't need that. Leave me alone. The people around you go, yeah, we know better. We're going to forge ahead. We're going to do what we believe is important for you. Obviously, you mentioned some great people, Joey Chambers, Ted. I mean, Michael Barrett. These are people that to have, in your corner, I think is
you take people like John Travers, right? I've never met the man in person. He made a huge donation, right? Yeah. Ted made Owen Moon, he made a sizable one. Some people that just really shocked me, right? That that I've known for a while, but I wasn't expecting. Hey, $25 is a lot of money to me. Much less somebody starts doing 500, 1,000, 1,500, stuff like that. That blows me away. Mr. Renicky from Automotive Warranty, he made a big donation, and I was really blown away. Things like this will catch you off guard, and like we talked about earlier, it's the ones that when you start paying attention, oh wow, where'd that come from? Or your wife's like, who's so and so? Who's this, that, and the other? So then you start scrolling and looking at these lists, and you're like, hey, where's Bob? Where's Steve at? Just even if it's a message of support, some of those things will jump out. People need our support, and they need to know that it's available, right? How many people suffer in silence without ever reaching out?
Yeah, you talk about suffering in silence. You also talk about, people not doing, look, we're men, right? And so men are notoriously, fine. Everything is fine. Everything is, we don't need to worry about it. We're fine. But you'll talk to someone like a Michael Barrich, and he'll tell you a story about being fine that doesn't end fine, right? That ends with his life being altered by medical reasons, right? And so, but for him now, he has a completely different outlook, right? He says he's the 2.0 version of himself now, having been through all that, which is what I suspect will happen to you, my friend. As you go through and as you beat this, I assume you'll come out the other side somewhat different. Do you expect that to be the case at some level, my man?
Absolutely. Well, I didn't survive, basically self-destructing back in the early 2000s. I went through a 7-year cocaine addiction. I threw everything away in life that was near and dear to me over drugs and just a poor mental health, right? I did not reach out to God and family and friends like yourself when I lost my dad, my grandma, and grandpa all in short order back in the early 2000s. Instead, I went the wrong direction. And so I didn't survive that. And I didn't find the love of my life. I didn't have another child, a sixth child who is just awesome, Lily. All of these things, the good Lord didn't provide to me to have them swept out from underneath me or to leave them by themselves. So I will win.
Man, I'm telling you what, but that is the attitude, right? It's a lot about positivity. I believe that to its core. I think if you allow the negativity to enter, I think the negativity is what feeds these sort of things. It's what can take it and make it worse. People suffering in silence. Not to mention, colon rectal cancer is not something that most people are going to talk about, period, Shawn. Did you have any trepidation about bringing this public? Did you have any, individual concerns about letting people know not only that it was cancer, but the type that it was?
No, well, that's the other thing we want to fight is the stigmas out there, right? That leads to suffering in silence because people don't want people to know. Well, you know what? I don't have any control over any of this other than my reaction and how I treat it. What it is and what the diagnosis was and how it happened. I don't care about none of that. I want to know how we're moving forward and how we're attacking it. And more people need to understand that the better you prepare yourself mentally, the better it's going to go for you in the long run. Mental preparation is half the game. Anybody that's ever played any sports or anything knows that that's to be true. And with myself, each day is a new day, right? Each day is a blessing. And I dedicated last week after giving it some thought. I wouldn't really consider it. I never feel sorry for myself. Never, ever. Anything that I've ever done that's bad, I did to myself. So I don't blame anybody. But being prepared and being willing to accept that help and being ready to act. When you are given opportunities, you have to be ready to act.
Yeah, well, Shawn, again, you talk about something I think is really, really important here. And it's this idea that you're not a doctor. You're not an oncologist. You don't control what happens now as far as the medical procedures, what needs to be there. All you can control is your attitude, your preparation, your being there. And I think that's a tough one for people to really, I know when everything happened to me a year ago with my family, I wanted to know the why. I was so hung up on the why. Why did this happen? Why did this happen? And the reality was, who gives a shit? It doesn't matter why it happened. It matters about what we're going to do to help us with the future now that it has, right? Yeah. And I think a lot of people do tend to get stuck in that. So I applaud you for pushing through all of that. Man, I know that you are a busy man. I've taken up a good bit of your morning here. So as we sort of close this out, Shawn, what do you want to leave people with that they need to know, whether it's about you, whether it's about how to help, whether it's about what you've been through? To close out an emotional mental health Monday on one of the most serious topics we could ever talk about, not only on this show, but in life itself. What do you want to leave folks with?
I want people to just be cognizant and aware of their surroundings and what's going on with the people around you. Everybody around you is fighting a battle that we're unaware of. Maybe small, maybe bigger, but you don't always know what's going on. So don't be so quick to judge people or quick to throw out harsh words or anything, because words mean things, right? A lot of times somebody can be sitting teetering right on the edge, and you can just have, for a lack of concern or respect for people, you can totally alter the course of somebody's lives unintentionally. Now that can be positive or negative. I'd rather it be for the positive, right? So staying on top of your things, being aware of your surroundings, and be willing to accept help. That's a very, very hard thing for me. I'm always a helper. I'm always a fixer. So that's probably been my toughest hurdle right now, is
I
accepting help.
willing to accept the help is something that I personally know that I struggle with across the board. I know it about myself because, like you, I'm the one that takes care of it, right? I'm the fixer. We go in, we do things, we take care of it. We don't really think about what it is when we'll need it because we just are perpetually moving through it and moving forward. Look, I'll add to that, folks. Listen to your body, okay? This is something that I've learned along the way. Is that there are indicators, there are small things, and listening, paying attention. I'm a yearly doctor guy myself. Every year I go in for a physical, I do blood work, I do all this stuff because I'm an addict and I've had years of abusing my body. I've been through a bunch of shit, Shawn, you know what I'm talking about. And we don't really pay attention to things, and we have to dig in and really listen to what's going on. Folks, as I said before in midway through the show, I'm going to say it again, fixedopcares.org. There'll be a link in the comments on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Bit of a pain in the ass, but we will certainly have it on LinkedIn. Please go out, donate whatever you can, whether it's $25, $50, it doesn't matter. Everything is going to help Shawn in this fight. It's hard enough having to go through these things, let alone layering on the financial aspect of all of it. So life is going to be interesting, Mr. Butler, but I have no doubts, my friend, that you will crush this thing and be right back making things happen like you were before it happened. So thank you so much, man, for being here. Thank you for sharing everything. And most of all, best of luck, man. In any way that we can support you here, I'm here for you. You let me know.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Have a great weekend, and you're the best.
We'll do it, man. Thanks a lot. Everybody, thank you for joining the show today. We really appreciate it. Next week on the show, we'll try and lighten things up a little bit, but this shit's important. Make sure you listen, share with your friends and family, and check out fixedopcares.org. Have a great week.